Good morning. Protagoras, day 16. Now this is how you may know that I am telling the truth, and that the Spartans are the best educated in philosophy and speaking. If you talk to the most ordinary Spartan, you will find that for most of the time he shows himself a quite unimpressive speaker. But then, at some chance point in the conversation, like a brilliant marksman, he shoots in a telling phrase, brief and taut, showing up whoever is talking to him to be as helpless as a child. Shooting in a telling phrase, brief and taut. It does sound a bit like Nietzsche. Now there are some, both at the present day and in the past, who have tumbled to this fact, merely that to be Spartan implies a taste for intellectual rather than physical exercises. For they realize that to frame such utterances is a mark of the highest culture. Of these were Thales of Miletus, Pittacus of Mytilene, Bias of Priene, our own Solon, Cleobulus of Lindus, and Mison of Chen, and the seventh of their company, we are told, was a Spartan, Chilon. All these were emulators, admirers, and disciples of Spartan culture. Okay, I read about 7 this morning, and not sacred geometry, but numerology, not really numerology, but more, well, yes. And I know Pythagoras was quite into numbers, so I'm not sure if it means anything that he mentions exactly 7. And I'm not sure if it meant the same thing then than what it does now. Of course, now the same symbol is 3 plus 4, which is the divine and the human in harmony, working together, something like that. I'm not sure if that has anything relevant to this. All of these emulators, admirers, and disciples of Spartan culture, and their wisdom may be recognized as belonging to the same category, consisting of pithy and memorable dicta uttered by each. Memorable dicta uttered by each. That is the advantage of just saying like one-liners. It's memorable. Moreover, they met together and dedicated the first fruits of their wisdom to Apollo in his temple at Delphi, inscribing those words which are on everyone's lips. Know thyself and nothing too much. Maybe the fact that it's 7 is significant. For to be able to speak on behalf of the gods at their holy places. Know thyself and nothing too much. I mention these facts to make the point that among the ancients, this laconic brevity was the characteristic expression of philosophy. In particular of his saying of Pittacus, hard is to be noble, got into circulation privately and earned the approval of the wise. Hard is to be noble. Well, I assume he's not talking of hard as bad, but as difficult indeed, as we understand it. And now I have to think of Christopher and what he said about Kierkegaard, about the story about a man sitting thinking about, like, I am such a useless fellow. Everyone is making everything easier for everyone, and I have no way to make anything easier. So what am I gonna contribute? And he decided, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it harder. I'm gonna make it more difficult for people. noble thing then, according to this, to Pittacus. Hard is to be noble. That does explain a lot. And it earned the approval of the wise. It occurred therefore to Simonides, with his philosophical ambitions, that if he could floor this favourite maxim with a triumphant knockout, he would become the favourite of his own day. So it's like little stabs with a dagger, these little sayings. Dagger stabs, or boom, he uses punches, but I see a dagger. A dagger I see. In my judgment, he wrote the whole poem against the saying of Pittacus, and on its account in a deliberate effort to damage its fame. Now let us all examine it together, to see whether I am right. At the very beginning of the poem, it seems crazy if you wish to say that it is hard to become a good man. That he should then insert, on the one hand, the insertion seems to make no sense, except on the supposition that Simonides is speaking polemically against the saying of Pittacus. Pittacus said, hard is it to be noble. And so that's smart. So he's taking the, Pittacus said it is hard to be noble. And he said, no, I'm changing it to become noble. It's hard. But to be is not. And that's, I think, that was just me babbling. And Simonides replied, discussing the point, no, to become a good man is hard, truly. Not, by the way, to become truly good. To become a good man is hard, truly. Not to become truly good. He does not refer the truly to that, as if some men were truly good and others good but not truly so. That would strike people as silly and unlike Simonides. We must transpose the word truly in the poem, thus as it were implying the saying of Pittacus before it, as if he spoke the first and Simonides were answering his words. Thus, O men, hard is it to be noble. And Simonides replies, that is not true, Pittacus. Not to be, but to become a good man, foursquare in hands and feet and mind, wrought without blame, that is hard, truly. I wonder if he will answer what exactly he means by being a good man. On this view, we find that on the one hand comes in reasonably, and that truly finds its proper place at the end. Everything that follows bears out my opinion that this is the sense. Much could be said about each phrase in the poem to testify to the excellence of its composition. It is indeed an elegant and well thought out production, but to go through it in such detail would take too long. Nevertheless, or on the other hand, let us review its general character and intention, which is undoubtedly to constitute throughout its length a refutation of the saying of Pittacus. A little further on, Simonides says, as if he were developing an argument, that although to become a good man is truly difficult, yet it is possible, for a while at least. But having become good, to remain in the state and be a good man, which is what you were speaking of, Pittacus, is impossible and superhuman. This is the privilege of a god alone, whereas he cannot but be bad who once misfortune irredeemably cast down. Okay, this is pretty interesting and challenging. So maybe I'll just although probably he will answer me if I just continue reading. But many things came to mind. So first, the Augustine came to mind, and his despair at not being able, which I think many people can relate to, and many people have related to in the past, not being able to remain in that state of tranquility, there with the one. I'm not sure if that is enlightenment or not. I don't know what enlightenment is. I'm of the opinion that you can only know by being, and I ain't being enlightened. Enlightenment. 4th of July. Interesting. So that came to mind. Why it's possible to attain those states, but it's impossible to retain those states. And then the second thing that came to mind when I read, "He cannot but be bad, whom once misfortune irredeemably cast down." So that sounds very much like the fall, which is of course something that I do not want to subscribe to. I don't know. Maybe we are a fallen species. Maybe we are angels. Who knows? Have a beautiful, free day.